Okay, this time we're going to talk about our courtship and our California group. When we first met, we were in a group of a bunch of single 20-something Christians. And we did stuff together. It's hard to imagine this now. 6 nights a week.
Seriously. Yeah, sometimes we just hung out. Sometimes we went to see a movie or,
Bowling
Yeah.
or
but we just were a group. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what we had to do, was just spend time with each other. And we
Yeah.
did as a big group of,
we
Yeah.
went to Christian rock concerts.
Yeah.
We went to Bible studies. But Patti and I always kind of paired off.
we did. We did.
And it's funny because we were the only ones in our group that really dated within the group, and we were the only ones that married within the group.
Yeah, very true. Very
So
true.
that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
From the moment we saw each other, we just fell head over heels in love with each other. And we were really inseparable.
The very first time that we really had time together, I don't know if you're going to talk about, you probably talked about in other ones where we met, but it was a place where we would go once a week with a bunch of our friends and a whole lot of other young people to just hear about the Lord and to do Bible study together. And after, when I first really met him, it was the second week of going there with him there, where we really had time. We stayed and talked. There was nobody else, it was just us and a few other people. We stayed and talked for a good hour and a half, and I had never experienced that. A guy who wanted to know me as in who I was, how I thought, what I felt about things, my history. And I was captivated. I mean, he just took my heart right away. I gave it, I should say, right away.
Yeah, we talked so long that there were guys and girls that actually lived in the Jesus
Yeah.
Christ Light and Powerhouse.
It was like a, what would you call it? Like a
Bible college.
Yeah, but it was like, what do they call those? Like
Like a fraternity.
like a fraternity.
Well, it was a fraternity
Okay,
house.
yeah. It was near the UCLA campus in California, and so there were people there, but they were like, "You guys don't live here. You probably should go home now."
Yeah. They were going to shut everything down. They were going to
Yeah.
turn off all the
We
lights.
were sitting in the dining room at their big dining room table, just the two of us talking.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And I remember they said, you can still talk, but we just have to turn all the lights out. So we figured, well, we'll go home,
We'll go home,
yeah. But we were just inseparable. And after a while, even the one night of the week that we didn't get together as a group, you and I got together.
Yeah.
And I mean, we did shopping, we just did everything together. After a few months, I kind of backed off a little. I was just cautious, super cautious, to the point where God had to kick me in the butt to basically said, I've given you what you wanted. Why are you being cautious? Why are you still coming to me and saying, well, is she really the right one when you know she is? And so I finally decided, okay, she's the right one. What I didn't do was I didn't think how I was going to propose marriage to her from her point of view. When I finally made the decision, I was so excited about it that I just wanted to blurt it out. And I really blew it. I was driving her home one night, and she had her apartment has an underground parking lot. And in California, they can't just call it an underground parking lot. They call it subterranean parking. But so I drove her in, and as she's getting out of the car, I say, by the way, would you be my wife? she got out of the car the rest of the way and then stuck her head back in and said, "What did you say?"
What did you say?
And I said, "Would you marry me? Would you be my wife?" And she was really kind of confused. I mean, it was...
Yeah, well, I was surprised.
Yeah.
Knowing where he was at and how he was processing, I just didn't expect that. But tell the rest of the story.
Yeah. And so she just kind of looked at me quizzically and said, "Yes." And I said, then I really blew it. And I said, "Okay, well, let's not tell anybody right away. Let's just kind of try this on for size, see how it fits." And I'm lucky that she really loved me, because she said, "Okay." That was mid-September.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we kept seeing each other.
Yeah.
And then in mid-December, when I was planning to go home for 2 weeks, because I did not want to spend Christmas in
California.
70-degree weather.
Yeah.
And she had just started a new job, and so she was...
Yeah, I was a florist at a very, very nice floral shop in Los Angeles, and I was blessed to get the job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We later found out it was the flower shop in the United States.
Well,
I mean,
in terms of size and impact, it was big. I
Yeah.
mean, it was one of the bigger flower shops at that time in the nation. And yeah.
And so she wasn't going to join me the first week, but she was going to fly to Michigan the second week. And so we get all of my stuff packed up, and we're waiting for a friend to come by and take both of us to the airport, and then Patti was going to spend some time with this girl. And we're just kind of sitting on the couch, and I've had 3 months to think about this now. And so I'm completely ready, and I asked her, "Patti, would you marry me?" And I was shocked. I mean, shocked, when she looked at me like this and says, "Is this time for real?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, it's for real." And so, okay, she got excited, and we got excited. And so our friend drives me to the airport, drops me off, I fly out. The next day...
Yeah, I go into work, okay? I'm so excited. Okay, I go into work to tell, and if you'd understand this, if you've ever worked in a flower shop, and this was a big one with a huge room with big tables where we did our work, and so you're all in the room together, and you spend your time doing your work, but also talking to each other. It was wonderful like that. And so I come in, I'm so excited, and I tell everyone, "I'm engaged," and they're like, "To Dave?" Yeah, Dave really seriously asked me, "Oh, well, let's see the ring." Well, we don't have a ring yet. I mean, we're going to have to save up to have money to get rings, And they're like, "Okay, well, that's really great. When are we going to get to meet Dave?" Well, he just flew last night to Michigan to be with his family for the holidays. And they're like, "Oh."
We've heard this one before.
Right.
No ring, he flew out of the state. Yeah, that's, And again, I didn't think of that. So, but then I get home, and we had agreed to tell my parents together.
Yes.
And my mom and I were always pretty close, and I couldn't wait.
Well, there's a part here that maybe we're not explaining. I'm just realizing there's something we haven't explained. A precious thing that Dave did do, okay, Dad did do, Grandpa did do, is, no, he didn't get me a ring, and he paid for a ticket for me to fly back to meet his parents and his brother and his family. That told me this was real, okay, in his mind that was real. Yeah. And so that was precious. So he might have explained that, but that's what his initial investment in that sense wasn't the ring, but it was a ticket for me to go back and meet his parents and his family, and that sealed the deal. You'll
Yeah.
explain that in a minute. That sealed the deal for me. I love his family as I love Dave, and I dearly love his family.
So I'm at home, and I finally just blurted out to my mom. I said, "Mom, I'm engaged to be married." And my mom is like 5 feet tall, and I was waiting for years to tell her this, figuring she would get all excited and her eyes would go to slits and she would start crying. And I mean, I was just really waiting for this. She didn't do any of that. She just looked at me and she had a twinkle in her eye and she said, "Yeah, I know." And I'm like, "Mom, I expected you to get all excited and to cry." I said, "How did you know?" Boy, did she have my number. She just looked at me and she said, "You would never pay for a girl's plane ticket to come home to meet your parents if you weren't engaged to her." And I thought, boy, does she know me. So Patti had told me, I'm flying into a place where I don't know anybody, so please be there on time to meet me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'll let you tell
and
that.
I was 21, and I had never been myself on a plane before. Okay, so that was a big deal, and so I have all these things. I made cookies for his parents, that I carried on the plane with me, and I had all these things and a
forgotten that.
card, for them, and all the, I kept it in my lap, which I know you're technically, but I just wanted to make sure nothing happened to it. So it was in my lap the whole time, and it was a red eye, what we used to call a red eye. I got in at 6 a.m., but I left at whatever would have travel would have gotten me there at 6 a.m. So it was, and yeah, I was like, oh, David better be there. Well, I walked off the plane, and Dave was right there. His mom, this is 6 a.m., his mom and dad
And brother.
and his brother Tom were there too. They were all there to meet me. I didn't know how to, I was just so amazed, and I went up to each of them, and I gave them hugs, and I said, "Hi, it's nice to meet you," to his parents, and they were precious. They were so loving and so warm and so welcoming. And then we go home, and bless her heart, Mom had prepared, for breakfast for me, because she knew coming, that early in the morning and after a long flight, and I would be tired, want to have breakfast and then rest. And she said, "Well, Patti, I didn't know what kind of eggs you like, so I wanted to wait till we got home, but I went ahead and I made bacon and sausage because I wasn't sure whether you like bacon or sausage, so I have both ready for you, and I'm keeping them warm in the oven." No microwaves back then. "I'm
Yeah.
keeping them warm in the oven for you, and then we can decide what kind of eggs you'd like, and I have some different kinds of bread for your toast." And she had orange juice and apple juice because she wasn't sure which juice I liked. And I was just, there are no words. I mean, I was just so not expecting that overpouring of love and welcoming coming from his family, especially from his parents. And later, that day, after I'd rested a while and got up, I pulled Dave aside and I said, "Dave, I've never been treated like this before in my life. What did you tell my parents? Or what did you tell your parents?" And he said,
I said, I told him you were my fiance and I loved you. I said, "Why? I don't understand."
and that is who they are. They were people who genuinely loved and cared about family. And to them, because I was engaged to him, I was already their daughter. And you know, girls, I carry it to this day. You're my daughters in love. Mom refused to call me her daughter-in-law. I was her daughter, okay? I was her daughter. She would sometimes introduce us. They had friends, you know, their age, who they would have get-togethers with, and they would invite us, and she would be introducing us, and she'd say, "Well, this is my son Dave, and this is my daughter Patti."
This was great. Yeah, we were hanging all over each other, and these people would look
Yeah.
at both of us and say, "Okay, this is your son," and my mom would say, "Yeah." And this is your daughter. And my mom would say, yeah. And they would be confused, you know. But she would let them be.
Yeah, and Dad was so cute because Dad would say, well, technically, she's our daughter-in-law. And then Mom would get all 5 feet and a quarter inch, and she would say, oh, she is our daughter. We are blessed to have Patti in our life. You know, I just, yeah, so.
But that day when Patti asked me this question, like, what did you tell your parents? And I said, nothing other than, you know, you're my fiance. And she said, but they're treating me like a princess.
Yeah.
And then a light went on. And I realized, oh yeah, her parents didn't treat her like that. And so I was able to say to her, sweetie, get used to it. This is how they're gonna treat you from now on. So that made me realize once again, you know, my parents they're really decent. I mean, they're good parents.
They were genuinely loving people.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have our, you know, we all have our weaknesses, and they did too. How they loved me as their daughter, each of them, until the day they died, gave me the gift of parents in a way that I didn't expect I was going to have.
Yeah.
And I am so very grateful for that. And I believe that she really instilled, along with my grandmother Esther, the two women in my life who dearly loved me and mothered me as my heart really needed, was Mom and my grandma Esther. And between the two of them, that's what I've brought to my motherhood and to my Mena, being a Mena, is what I learned from them. So.
Yeah, there was one point where my mom had already passed away and my dad was in the hospital, and Patti had, I think you had drove him there, maybe, and the doctor came in and he wanted to talk to my dad, but he said, and then he looked at Patti and he said, this is really for family only. And my dad said,
oh, she's my daughter. It's okay. She can be here. Yeah.
So, but, you know, I guess one thing I learned in all of this was, yes, asking somebody to marry you is a big, big step because it's permanent, or it should be. And there's a risk involved. And somehow, I guess I really wanted to minimize that risk, but, you know, it was kind of dumb the way I did it. But there's always going to be a risk involved, and in any big thing you do. And what I learned is not to be afraid to take a risk, but with Jesus guiding me, I shouldn't be afraid to take the risk. And that was a big lesson to learn. So that's it for right now. We'll see you guys.